This gospel reminds me of a story. When I was in high school, I worked at my local community golf course. And part of my job description was to not only go around and fill all the water coolers and pick the balls off the golf range, but once we were done all of our obligations, we could work for tips. And how we did that was, once the golfers came off of the 18th green, we would flag them down, hop on the back of their carts, and ride with them up to the parking lot. And once we got up there, we would be furiously cleaning their clubs, like, oh, how was your round, sir? Very good, good. Here, let me take care of your clubs for you, hoping, we would get something. And some days it was great. We'd walk away with big smiles. Other days was more of a struggle. But this one moment I remember, I'm on the back of this car, and this crowd, they just had a phenomenal round. They were having fun, the golf carts were filled with beer cans, so I'm like, okay, this might be a winner here, So we're cleaning the clubs, and this guy stands up and he goes, all right, guys, no, I got this. Let me take care of this. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a huge wad of cash. And I was thinking, whoa, he had to have been carrying like $1,000 or something. He's holding this 100, 50, 50, 50, 50. My eyes are filled with big dollar bill signs. 50, 20, 20, 20, 10, 10, 10, 5, 5, 5, 5, 1, 1. $1 bill for me, $1 bill for my buddy. He left with a pretty dirty pitching wedge after that. But that comes to mind because, he may have been doing that just for a laugh, He may have been, just kind of maybe flexing a little bit, showing his wealth. But how attached are we to something so trivial as paper? How attached are we to material goods, beautiful cars, beautiful restaurants, beautiful homes, constantly desiring the next best thing, right? In the gospel today, we have this young man who's willing to serve the Lord, willing to follow him. Lord, I've been following all of your commandments since I was young, since my youth. I've been doing this. Am I good? Am I ready to enter the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus says, you are lacking in one thing. What is the one thing he is lacking? Freedom. Freedom of heart. Charity. He's too attached to the triviality of this world. If we're attached to our material wealth, to constantly striving for the next payday or the next greatest thing, none of that is coming with us to the grave. We are leaving it all behind one day. He is speaking, the young man here is speaking to God himself, to Christ, the owner of all materiality. And when he is asked to give up his material possessions, he's downcast, he's sad. And understandably so, right? We put in a lot of work. We work hard for the things that we have. And we enjoy the stuff that makes us feel comfortable in this life. This is not a condemnation of hard work. This is not a condemnation of his labor and what he has. But Jesus is calling him to so much more. He's calling him to be able to give freely at a moment's notice. How ready are we to give up everything we have? Can we trust in the Lord that deeply? During this past storm that came through, Hurricane Ida, there was a lot of damage, a lot of flooding. And I had a woman come up to me right after the storm, and she said, Deacon, we lost everything. We lost everything in the flood. And I said, I'm so sorry. How are you doing? She said, I trust more in the Lord now than I ever have before. There was still a joy to her. There was still a freedom to be here. She recognized the beauty that is her life and the life of her loved ones, that nobody was, tragically taken from her. She's ready to serve God by coming to Mass, receiving Him into her body, accepting His sacrifice and uniting her sacrifice to Him on the cross. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Christ says, or I should say, Peter asks Jesus, then who can be saved? If getting into the kingdom of heaven is so difficult that it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle, then how can any of us get there, right? For human beings, it is impossible. Our hearts are so fickle. They attach themselves so willingly to our material possessions without any cause or consideration for the otherwise. But for God, all things are possible. Because really, it is through our devotion to Christ that He gives us the potential to be charitable, to allow our hearts to be detached from this world. That's why I don't agree with people when I hear, I don't need God to do good or to be charitable. I don't agree with that. Why? Because even though we have the capacity to do it, this world is too seductive to be able to get to that point where instead of giving a $1 bill, you're going to give me the whole wad of cash, right? No, I'm just kidding. Charity is an act of practice. We grow in charity the more that we give. And we see the greatest act of charity that the world has ever seen is on the cross. The more we receive Christ, the more we accept His passion, His death, His resurrection, we will notice ourselves becoming more and more able to detach gradually over time. It's not a one-and-done process. This life is a constant struggle, a constant work and effort. But if we trust in the Lord, then what does He promise? What will be given to us in the kingdom of heaven will be 100 times more than anything that we can receive here. The interest rates on what Jesus is saying is pretty good, right? No 401k or Roth IRA can even come close to 100 times what we give here. So rather, I offer you a change of perspective. In this promise right here, in life everlasting, in joy, in family, in happiness, and in bliss, something that we all strive for every single day.